Welcome to Lesson 20, which roughly covers pages 128 to 141 of the Automate the Boring Stuff with Python textbook. Just as a quick reminder, you can actually view the entire book online at automatetheboringstuff.com. So if you don't have a print copy, you can just scroll down and then click on whichever chapter that we're going over inside this class. And just like Lesson 15 covered a lot of useful list methods, this lesson will cover a lot of useful string methods. Keep in mind that, unlike list methods, the string methods return a new string value rather than modify the string in place. Since strings are immutable, it's impossible to modify them in place anyway. So let's take a look at the upper and lower string methods. I could have a variable like spam hello world, and I could call that string value's upper method, and it returns a uppercase version of that string. Now remember, string values are immutable, so they can't be modified in place. Spam still contains that lowercase value. If I actually wanted to modify the value in the variable spam, I would have to have something like spam equals spam.upper. And the lower method returns a version of that string in all lowercase. Non-letter characters like the space or the exclamation mark are completely unaffected by the upper and lower methods. These methods are helpful if you need to make a case-insensitive comparison. For example, if I was making some sort of game program and I printed out, "Do you want to play again?" and I expected a yes or no answer, you would have some code that calls the input function, and then the player types in yes or no. Let's say I type in yes. Answer stores the lowercase yes string. The player could have easily typed in capital YES. Whoops. The player could have easily typed in capital YES. And so any code that we have that looks like this, if answer equals YES lowercase, it would fail because this expression evaluates to false if answer contains an uppercase version of yes. So instead, we could have an expression that just automatically converts it to lowercase before doing the comparison. So now it doesn't matter if answer contains capital yes or maybe lowercase and uppercase characters. This line of code will still work the same. We can still have something like this. Still have something like this, and it works with any response. String values also have an isUpper and isLower method that returns a Boolean value depending on if the strings are uppercase or lowercase. So let me try again with storing hello world inside of spam. I can call spam isLower, and this will return false because there is a letter character that's in uppercase. So I could change this to be a lowercase letter. And now it evaluates to true. And I can do the same thing with isUpper. I'll just first make this only have uppercase characters, and now spam isUpper will return true. Note that if I just have the blank string, both spam.isUpper and isLower both return false. There needs to be at least one uppercase or one lowercase character for isUpper and isLower to return true, respectively. So if I just called this on a string value like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, both isLower and isUpper would return false because there's no letters inside this string. Now, since the upper and lower string methods themselves return strings, you can call string methods on those return string values as well. Expressions that do this will look like a chain of method calls. So if I have the string hello, and I call its upper method, it returns the string capital hello. And then on that string, I could in turn call something like isUpper, which then evaluates to a Boolean value. So this entire expression evaluates to true. We have the string hello, and then we call its string method upper on that, and this returns a string itself, which we call its method isUpper, which then returns a Boolean value, true. And there are several other of these string methods that begin with the word is. These methods return a Boolean value that describes the nature of the string. We have isAlpha, that returns true if the string consists of only letters and is not blank. IsAlNum, which returns true if the string only consists of letters and numbers, that is, it consists of alphanumerics. IsDecimal, which returns true if there are only numeric characters. IsSpace, that returns true if there's only spaced characters. And IsTitle, that returns true if the string consists of words that begin with uppercase letters followed by only lowercase letters. So I'll type all of these out into the interactive shell. So we have the string isAlpha, and this will return true because it only consists of letters. But if I have something like hello123, isAlpha will return false because this 123 means that it's not just alphabetical characters. Whereas if I have hello123 and I call isAlNum, which returns true if there's only alphanumerics, that is, letters and numbers only, then that returns true. I can have something like 123 and call isDecimal on it, and that returns true. Or if I have just a bunch of empty space, I could call isSpace. That would say, yes, there's nothing but empty white space characters inside this string. Although, say I had something like hello world and called isSpace on that, that would return false because these are not space characters. However, if I had an expression sort of like, where is that space? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I could call isSpace on that, and that would return true because this index returns that single space from the middle in between hello and world. And then isTitle is kind of crazy looking. It will return true only if all of the words inside that string begin with an uppercase character and have nothing but lowercase characters in them. Whoops. There is also a corresponding title string method, just like there's lower and upper. So that's a lot of different string methods. You don't have to memorize all of them, just remember that they exist and you can Google for them later. Next, the starts with and ends with methods return true if a string value that they're called on begins or ends, respectively, with a string that's passed to the method. So if we had a string like hello world, we could call starts with, and then pass that the string hello, and this will return true. We could even make that much simpler and say, does it start with the letter H? And that's true. Whereas this would return false because it does not start with LO. We need that beginning H right here. Similarly, we have an ends with method. And note that it starts with an S at the end and ends with an S at the end. So we could ask it, oh, does it end with world exclamation point? And this would return true. Of course, if we didn't have that exclamation mark at the end, this would return false. The join method is useful when you have a list of strings that need to be joined together into a single string value. The join method is called on a string, gets past a list of strings, and returns a string. So here's a common example. We have the string comma, and we'll use that to join together a list of strings. Let's say cats, rats, bats. So this method call returns a string that has each of these individual strings in this list combined together and joined with this string. So a comma appears in between each of them. And we could change this so that we have nothing that joins them, just have the blank string so that they all just get crammed together already. Or perhaps we could have a single space in them so that there's a single space there. Or even say two new line characters. We'll have /in/in. So that way when we pass this to a print function call, it'll print it out with a new line here and then another new line here, to have a gap in between each of the words. The split method does the opposite. It's called on a string value and returns a list of strings. So I could have the string, my name is Simon. And when I call .split on it, it returns a list, and inside this list are all the individual words from inside that string. It splits it on whitespace characters. Now we can have it split on other characters as well, just by passing a different value to the split method. Say I wanted it to split on the letter M instead of on spaces. Now this list will have my na as the first string, and then it cuts out this M so that everything up to the next M is in the second string, and then the rest of that is the third string. This is just like how it used to go up to the first space character and then have the next string be up to the next space character. So you can split on anything that you want. The rjust and ljust string methods will return a padded version of a string that they're called on, with spaces inserted to left justify or right justify the text. So the first argument to both methods is the integer length for the justified string. So if I have the string hello, I can right justify it. And let's say I want the total length of the return string to be 10. So in this case, Python inserts as many space characters as needed to make the total length of this string to be 10. And I can do the same thing with the ljust method to left justify it. This will add whitespace padding to the end. And I can try passing a different value to justify it with 20 spaces. And an optional second argument can be passed to rjust and ljust to specify a different fill character other than a space. So if I had hello.rjust and I wanted it to be 20 characters long and then also have asterisks instead of spaces, I could create a string easily with stars at the front of it. Or say I wanted the text hello to be left justified with 25 characters and then dashes instead. And there's also a center method that works just like ljust and rjust, but centers the text rather than justifying it to the left or right. So I can have hello and then center it so that the entire string is 20 characters long with the text in the center, or I could have maybe an equal sign as the fill character instead. This is kind of nice because you could have a variable that contains something like name equals Al, or I could change that to be a very long name like Wendell, and that same code will put that name in the center with as many equal signs on either side as necessary. It uses the same code. Sometimes you might want to strip off whitespace characters like spaces or tabs or new lines from the left side or the right side or both sides of the string. Going back, if we had this hello.rjust and we had too much space on the left side of this and we want to get rid of that, we can call the strip string method to remove that. So let's say I had that in spam, and I could call strip on that string to remove that white space. Remember, this doesn't modify spam in place. Spam still has all of that in there. This just returns a brand new string. So if I wanted to change it, I would have spam equals spam.strip. That'll remove white space from either side of the string. Let's say we only wanted to remove the white space from the left side of the string. We could call lstrip, or we could call rstrip to just remove white space from the right side of the string. We could also pass these strip methods a string with characters that we want to remove instead of white space. So if I had a variable like spam, spam, bacon, spam, eggs, spam, spam, I could call strip on that and pass it the letters AMP capital S. I can have this in any order. I'm just specifying letters, not an actual word. And this will remove all the capital S's, P's, A's, and M's from either side of the string and return that new string value. Notice how there's still spam in the middle. That's just because it removed those letters up to the first character that wasn't passed to the strip method. And then the same on the end side. It just went down to here. So this is the string that was returned. The replace string method takes two arguments, a string to look for and a string to replace it with. So if I had a string like hello there stored in spam, I could call replace and replace every E with XYZ. And that's all the string methods that we'll cover in this lesson. Let's go over one more thing. The paperclip module has copy and paste functions that can send text to and receive text from your computer's clipboard. So sending the output of your program to the clipboard will make it really easy to paste it to an email or to a word processor software or some other program. Paperclip doesn't come with Python. To install it, follow the directions for installing third-party modules with the pip tool in Appendix A. I can show you very quickly how to do it on Windows. I'm just going to hit Window key R and run cmd. And I'll just go to the directory. So change directory to where Python is installed and go to its scripts folder. And that has this program pip.exe, and I'll just type pip.exe install paperclip, and this will automatically download and install it onto your system. In this case, I already have it installed, so it says, oh, you don't need to install it again. So after installing it, you can check to see if the install worked by just trying to import paperclip, and if nothing shows up, then that means it's successfully been installed. And paperclip has a copy and paste functions that can copy text to the clipboard. So say I can copy this string hello with lots of exclamation marks, and now when I try to paste text, I can see that this text was indeed copied to the clipboard. Or I can call paperclip's paste function, and that will return the text that's already on the clipboard. So if I wanted to get that as a string value, I can just call paperclip.paste. To recap, upper and lower return an uppercase or lowercase version of the string. Is upper, is lower, is alpha, is alnum, is decimal, is space, is title. All of those is string methods return true or false depending on if the string is that respective kind of string. Starts with and ends with also return bools. The join method will return a string that combines the strings from a list. The split method will return a list of strings. Rjust, Ljust, and center will return a string that's padded with spaces or some other character that you specify. The strip, rstrip, and lstrip methods will return a string with the white space stripped off from the sides. Replace will replace all occurrences of the first string argument with the second string argument that you pass it. And the paperclip module has copy and paste functions so that your programs can use the computer's clipboard.